My girlfriend dumped me because I went to go check if she was okay after she didn't respond for 4 days. Posted by you/young Tom Soy. My girlfriend lives in my apartment complex, and I met her one day in September while I was out walking my dog. We ended up going on a date that same night and pretty much instantly hit it off, starting to spend time together almost every day. We would spend entire weekends together, doing fun things, and I really enjoyed her company as I started falling for her. In November, my girlfriend warned me that from mid-month to December 15th, she would be unavailable. I thought this meant I wouldn't see her as often, but I didn't realize it meant communication would become almost non-existent. She stopped texting me things like "I miss you" or "Good night, handsome." The gaps between texts became longer. After a few days of this, I talked to her and asked if everything was okay, both with her and with us. She explained that we were fine, but she was just incredibly busy and barely had the energy for anything besides work and sleep, maybe stopping to eat. She apologized for making me feel anxious and said she would try to do better. As time went on, 2 weeks passed without us spending any significant time together. I only saw her a couple of times in passing for about 5 minutes. Eventually, my texts and calls started going unanswered. The last time we spoke on the phone, she mentioned that if I got off work early enough on the following Saturday, I could come over for a bit and we could hang out. That night, I called her, but it went straight to voicemail. When I got home, I walked my dog and noticed that her apartment lights were off. I texted her, saying it looked like she had passed out and I hoped she got some good sleep. I didn't hear back for 3 full days. Her car didn't appear to have moved, and her apartment lights were never on when I walked by. I started getting worried because I knew she struggled with certain health issues, was super stressed, hated her job, and seemed to have symptoms of depression. I texted her again, saying I just wanted to check in and that it worried me when I didn't hear back for so long. Still, no response that day. By the following day, I was extremely worried. I couldn't think about anything else. I reached out to her best friend and asked when she had last heard from her. She told me it was the prior week. I expressed my concern and said I wanted to respect her space, but I was genuinely worried and thinking about checking on her. Her friend told me that 4 days was plenty of space and encouraged me to go check on her. On my lunch break, I went to her apartment. My anxiety was through the roof. Her house still seemed dark, and her blinds were closed. I knocked on the door, no answer. I rang the doorbell, still no answer. I knocked harder, then rang the doorbell again, but there was still no response. I knocked hard enough that I thought she would hear it from the bedroom. Finally, I saw the typing bubble appear on my phone. I am on a freaking client call. Stop knocking. I immediately left, feeling terrible. I sent a text apologizing, explaining that I was just really worried about her. Later, I added that I realized I went overboard with the knocking and was very sorry. Another day passed without a response. I talked to my father, who pointed out that it didn't seem like she was treating me or communicating well. I told him I just wanted to talk to her, but I was worried about looking crazy or making things worse. He asked me what would really change if I tried again, since at least I might get some clarity. So, I sent her a text saying I was going to stop by in 5 minutes to talk because it was really important. I went over and rang her doorbell, no answer. Feeling defeated, I went home and wrote a long text telling her how much I liked her and how the situation was making me feel. I told her I felt ignored and treated as less important. I explained that I needed some communication and that even a single text occasionally would go a long way. I emphasized that it wasn't an ultimatum but that I really needed to hear from her. The next morning, I saw that she had sent a long text around 4 a.m. She explained how busy she had been, working 14-hour days and crashing afterward. She said she barely had the energy to get to her desk, reiterating that she had told me she would be unavailable. She called out my behavior, coming to her door and banging on it while she was working, as incredibly inappropriate. She said her car had clearly been moved and made it clear that what I did during work hours crossed a hard line for her. I hadn't realized that unavailable meant absolutely no contact or that I wouldn't be able to see her at all. But regardless, in one fell swoop, I ended my relationship with someone I cared deeply about, all because I couldn't manage my anxiety and be patient. Update 11 days later. My last post kind of blew up, so I figured some people might appreciate an update. I mentioned at the end of my original post that she had sent me a long text the following morning, telling me how much I had messed up and crossed a hard line. I responded to that text with an apology, saying that I had let my anxiety control me and that I wanted to work on things. I told her I was going into therapy to address my own issues. Since she didn't explicitly say that we were over, I asked her for clarification on where we stood and if she was done. I also said that, outside of that, I would not contact her until I heard back from her. As of today, it has been 12 days, and she has not responded to me at all. These last 12 days have been horrible for my mental well-being. Yesterday, I decided to just move on and give myself my own closure. I've realized a lot of important things through this experience. I realized that I didn't do anything wrong. Being unavailable does not mean disappearing and dropping off the face of the earth for days at a time, ignoring the outside world. I did nothing wrong by going to check on her. I acted out of love, care, and worry. I did what I would hope a partner would do for me. No one is too busy to send a single text in 4 days. I realized that I need to take care of myself and assert my own boundaries. I also learned some important needs and expectations I have in relationships. I recognized my own codependent and anxious tendencies that I need to work on. I also realized there were a lot of red flags about this woman that I had been ignoring. Over the past 12 days, I've taken up meditation, journaling, and a daily practice of gratitude. I've started therapy and gotten back into the gym. I've also talked with her best friend again, who hasn't heard from her in about as long as I have. The silence isn't personal to just me, which did make me feel a little better at one point. However, I'm still upset. I'm mad at the way I've been treated throughout this whole process. I know this is an extremely busy time for her, and I know she is struggling, but I still have needs, and she chose to be my girlfriend. These are needs that, for whatever reason, she is apparently incapable of meeting. Leaving someone who loves and cares about you in the dark for 12 days, when you live just a 3-minute walk away, is unkind at best. I still don't know what's going on in her head, and I don't know if I ever will. I would still be open to talking with her and hearing her out, but I'm extremely unlikely to take her back. I deserve better. I think my biggest realization is that I can give myself closure, detach, take care of myself, and still love her and others around me. I wish I could snap my fingers and be over her, but I know it's going to take some time. Thank you to everyone for the assurance, kind words, and those who reached out to support me.